But let's start with the nags. The ABC's 7:30 shocked many Australians just over a week ago with revelations of racehorses being slaughtered rather than rehomed. It was shocking footage, as you get at abattoirs, and it's already led to an inquiry in Queensland and additional funds to track racehorses in Victoria. Days after the story ran, Paul Barry on the ABC's Media Watch program lined up News Corp media for not following the story strongly or quickly enough.
But could the telly find room on Friday morning for the slaughter of so many thoroughbreds? It could not, neither in print nor online. And it was not until 5 p.m, almost 24 hours after the story was broadcast, that it finally covered the scandal rocking the industry. But that, at least, was better than the Australian, which, despite being a national paper, splashed the Sydney race on its front page twice. On Tuesday, but when it came to Friday, those dead horses did not get a run until late in the evening, with the news ignored all day in preference for stories like this.
The Everest.
Fashionistas stage own carnival with click of a button.
Barry said the papers made a mozza from advertising for the Everest and insinuated they compromised reporting obligations. Next day, Media Watch tweeted an embarrassing apology. Apologies to the Australian. Last night we said it didn't publish on racehorse slaughter until Friday night. This was incorrect. They first published online at 1 p.m. and updated in the evening. Our stuff up, sorry. Then came another admission on the Media Watch website. The Daily Telegraph also ran an article by news.com.au on its website at 11:10 p.m. on Thursday night, but did not get its own reporter to cover the story until 5 p.m. on Friday. This was a worthwhile story of public interest, but we're curious why Media Watch seemed to miss a fascinating take on the timing.
And it could hardly have come at a more embarrassing time. On the eve of Melbourne's Caulfield Cup, as Sydney's brash new race, the Everest, worth a whopping $14 million.
Now, this apparently was a 6-month investigation that just happened to culminate and go to air on the eve of one of racing's biggest meets. Sally Jackson from the ABC later released a statement saying the story was put to air as soon as it was ready. There are major race meets throughout the year, and either avoiding or coinciding with any of them was not a factor in the timing of this story. To quote that great Australian movie Muriel's Wedding, Deirdre Chambers, what a coincidence. It's not the first time Media Watch has mentioned the Everest. You get the impression they're not into this horse race.
For those who haven't been reading the racing pages, the Everest is a flashy new horse race, running at Randwick next Saturday and billed by the Australian Turf Club as the richest turf race in the world. The ATC and Racing New South Wales have been getting masses of coverage for it, especially in the telly, which is the ATC's media partner. And all three were keen for the Sydney Opera House to join the party. But as the telly thundered on Friday, those arty elites refused to join the fun.
Can't wait to see what the ABC's attack will be next year. But let's get back to the killing of racehorses. According to veterinarian and Professor Paul McGreevy, the number of unaccounted racehorses amounted to 4,000 each year.
Each year, around 8,500 horses are retired from the track. And according to the racing industry, less than 1% of them are ending up at an abattoir.
Figures don't add up. If my concerns are substantiated, then we're talking about a large number of horses that are meeting a very grisly end.
How big then is that grey area, that black hole?
The size of the black hole is in the order of at least 4,000 horses per year.
The ABC didn't challenge this claim, simply observing that McGreevy has 25 years research into racing and has conducted multiple database studies and published reports. The Coalition for the Protection of Racehorses claimed a similar figure.
The estimated number per year arrived at by the Coalition for the Protection of Racehorses is staggering.
Equates to about 4,000 racehorses killed in this one abattoir alone.
4,000?
4,000, probably closer to 5,000.
As with McGreevy's numbers, the ABC didn't press the activists here to justify those numbers. The 7:30 report also relied on numbers given by undercover investigators who visited Merrimist Abattoir.
22 separate visits spanning 2 years, methodically scanning microchips and filming brandings. We've forensically cross-matched them to the industry's official record of thoroughbreds, the Australian Stud Book, to reveal around 300 racehorses, representing almost $5 million in prize money, have been detected at Merrimist Abattoir in just 22 days alone.
300 racehorses in 22 days, or rather 22 days over 2 years, is a large number, but it's quite an extrapolation to say 4,000 to 5,000 horses have been killed in that abattoir. The figure is disputed.
To take one or two people that do the wrong thing and portray a whole industry like that is completely unfair and unjust. The hate mail that we've been receiving this morning of telling us to all get cancer and die, etc., is appalling. And look, and there's some horses that were portrayed as being taken to a knackery last night that are actually in a paddock. Out of 10,000 horses that retired over the last 2 years since we've introduced the rule, 99.9% of them have been rehomed.
And as Volandes pointed out, Racing New South Wales has no jurisdiction over horses predominantly raced or kept in other states. Merrimist Abattoir, where most of the killings were said to have taken place, is in Caboolture in Queensland. Also, if this is any indication, not all of the horses named in this report have been dispatched.
Here, the best is fresh. We've seen proof the following horses have ended up at Burns Pet Foods, condemned to death in the past 10 months alone. 7-year-old Hard Rain, 4-year-old Reliable Kingdom.
And Reliable Kingdom dropped out of it.
In fact, Reliable Kingdom was still alive, as the Daily Telegraph reported. After seeing the ABC story and realising the horse had been sent to Burns Pet Foods, his former owners bought him back. So the ABC has already hoped to save at least one horse. Aunty has a bit of a history in these animal rights stories, often using footage secretly filmed by activist groups rather than ABC cameras, and with the ABC admitting it doesn't know whether or not laws have been broken to obtain the footage. Certainly at least one ABC voice knows the complexities of the horse caper. Radio National's Jonathan Green took to Twitter to reflect on his experience. He bought a failed thoroughbred, rode it and loved it. But he found he couldn't care for it or work it sufficiently. Green confesses to being a neglectful, ignorant owner and in the end drove his horse to the place of last resort for failed racehorse owners, the knackery. That's a sad and sobering lesson on the hard choices in animal husbandry.